Yeah, good morning. My name is Bill Pollack, and we're at the Peterson Museum. It's September 23rd, 2002, and our guest this morning is Larry Watson, and an example of his artistry is behind him. And this is a landmark kind of a car, Larry. But I'd like to know how you got started in this. You know, where did it all begin?
Well, it started in my driveway in 1955. I had a little Chevy at the time, and a friend of mine conned me into pinstriping it, and there was only one name back in 55 as a striper was Von Dutch.
That's right.
So I attempted it, and I striped my car, took it to school. Everybody didn't believe I striped it. They said Von Dutch striped it, you know. But after 2 weeks, a Dutchman come in, and he had a 50 shoebox Ford. He says, "Okay, you striped your car, stripe mine." So then I found out where Dutch got his striping brushes and paint, and I striped his car. It went to the Bellflower Clock Drive-In, and I was history. Every time I got out of high school, there was 3 or 4 cars in my driveway ready to be pinstriped.
Lord.
So that then it branched off into flames, and then I developed scallops. Scallops were created back in trains, planes, and stuff like that, but
Scallops.
Scallops, yeah. And
I'm not sure
this is paneling. I started in
What are scallops?
summer of '57. Scallops are like a sculpture of a teardrop forming on the body sculptures of the cars. And then I went into complete painting and candies and pearls. I sold my Chevy after I scalloped it, and I was in a market to buy a new car, to start a new trend. New car, less body work, but a radical paint job. So I narrowed it down to a 58 Ford, because it had a nice grill capacity to put any kind of grill in there, the tail lights, this and that. And I was going to do some kind of a wild scallop job on it. So the guy working for George Barris at the time, I was renting Barris's building at the time, and he knew somebody at Downey Ford. So we went down there, and I was getting ready to pick up a black Fairlane 500 hardtop, and that was going to be the new paint trend. But the guy says, now this was about in March of '58, because the T-Birds come out late. So he says, "Did you guys happen to see the new T-Birds?" I said, "No, we heard about them, and I'm not interested in a 4-passenger T-Bird, you know." Well, he brought out the brochure, and I saw that son of a gun on the cover, and I says, "Oh my God." So I went in debt another $1,500. So I ordered it, and I said, "I want the first black and white interior that hits the showroom." Man, I was impatient. I wanted that car so bad. I cut it down and lowered it and put the brochure in front of my bed and just can't wait, you know. And I think about 3 or 4 weeks they finally called me, because they had it right in the center of the showroom. I went down there, and there it was. I mean, the lines, I mean, the sculpturing just blew me away. So anyway, it got the black and white interior, which was the white tuck and roll. The car was pink.
Oh, my.
The car was pink, because that means nothing to me. So on the way to work, I had it lowered and had the mufflers put on it, and I drove it right in next door to my shop at Barris. Bill Hines happened to be working for George at that time. And what I had done was just the door handles, nose and deck, rounded the corners, just clean shaved it. Then we took it next door, and we prepped it, got it all blocked out, and I put the brightest silver pearl, because back in those days, red and white pearl, the big paint trend. That was it. Well, I wanted to start something new, so I said, "No, I'm going to go a silver base, I'm going to go pearl over it." So after I painted and put it out in the sunlight the next day, and I'm learning painting now. And so the car was so bright, I made it so large. And not knowing when I was mixing formulas, I should have tinted my pearl with the transparent black to give it that oyster effect. And that way I'd eliminate the clouds. But it wasn't that. It wasn't a cloudiness. It was just too bright and too big. So laying in bed that night, I got to do something different. As you can see, I started the first, I called it panel, paint job. This is the first panel paint job I created. I used my car as a guinea pig. An inch and a half, followed all the lines, and I just got through scalloping the Rod and Custom Dream Truck with a candy burgundy. Barris, I think it was George Barris' last physical paint job. He did a candy lime on the Rod and Custom Dream Truck. He did a couple of boo-boos that he wanted me to scallop over, so he handed me a pint of Acme burgundy toner. And I looked at that burgundy and I said, you know what, I'm going to do a complete car that color. So my paint company, Nason's, the burgundy wasn't as red as what I did on a Dream Truck. The burgundy was more on the purple grape side. So that's what I did. First panel job, first complete candy burgundy, and I'm telling you, I stopped so much traffic the year that I was cruising in this car in Southern California. I just stopped people. People were hanging out with their 8mm cameras, cops constantly pulling me over. Good cops, yes. Wanted to see my car, what is it, who painted it, this and that. Bad cops, jealous. You're too low, what do you mean too low? I mean, the closer to the ground, centrifugal force, if I accidentally hit the brakes, I may twirl around instead of going over. And that was 679, unsafe vehicle, was the too low ticket back in those days, yes. So we had, and I averaged one ticket a year, got about 56 tickets, a little over a year. But I pulled over every day, you know, just the nice cops. Who painted this? It's such a beautiful car. That 1 out of 10. You're too low. I think I had bullets on my windshield wipers. I had plastic covers over my license plate. They just wanted to just write me up. They were so jealous of envy, because back in those days, those cops could know all they can afford is a bicycle to go to work, you know. And they don't want to see a teenager in something like this on the road. So they get their revenge. But anyway, it was a new paint trend. I was very proud of it. And
It's a beautiful color.
Well, after the car was on the road and people pulling me over, it was nothing but panel paint jobs and candies and pearls. I do a blue pearl, candy blue, mint pearl, candy green, banana pearl, candy butterscotch, orchid pearl, candy grape. So I had it down. But everybody had to have a panel, candy, and pearl. So that's what I started with the T-Bird. It made the cover 59 on the Custom Car Annual, and was featured in, well, today we're hitting 30 books with this bird still alive. I'm very happy and thankful. I did something right in my life, you know.
Yeah, you sure did.
Yeah, but it, I mean, the little old ladies at Long Beach, their 37 Chevy looking down, oh, Sonny, that is the most beautiful car I ever seen, you know. Kids were chasing me. But this, between all of us, the camera, this was a magnet for the young ladies. I mean, you cannot believe. I go in a drive-in, they get out of their cars and chase me, you know. Go up to the bus stop, and before the doors open, they're off the bus stop. But I enjoyed it. I wasn't a good-looking guy. That got my dates. All my dates came from that beautiful bird. And like it took 3 weeks to do it. Bill Hines and Billy Carr, working for Barris, burned the midnight candle, and I painted it. And Jim Potter called me up and wanted me to meet him up here, right down the street from you.
Jim Potter with Motor Trend? Is that the
Yeah,
editor?
Jim Potter. He was freelancing for Peterson.
Oh, okay.
And there's a new bank that was built in '58 down the street here, and it was the blue marble. So that was the backdrop, and it made the cover of the Custom Car Annual of '59. I was very honored. And that was the third week. I did this thing in 3 weeks. Fourth week, it made the turntable at the entry of the Long Beach Sports Arena, the Renegades Car Show. So they gave me the turntable. But I missed a lot of car show because I wanted to, you know, pick up ladies on the weekends. And that's what it was, you know. And then after I sold this, I got a '59 CAD and did sort of the same treatment. And still, '59 through '60, everybody had to have a panel. You know, flames were gone, scallops were gone. The end thing was panel painting and candies and pearls. And in '60, I started the metal flakes. And it just kept going and skyrocketing. But I owe it all to my customers because they used to come into my shop and dangle their keys, and he says, "Your next guinea pig. I don't care what color or what you paint my car. Do something different. Give me the keys, walk off, come back the next week." And
Wow.
oh yeah, I owe it to my customers because it wasn't boring. I can create colors.
What did a paint job like this cost then?
I don't think the people behind the camera want to hear it. Paint job like this, 58 would run about 175 to 200.
Come on.
Yeah, no. You're going to understand. A lot of people don't understand it.
Yeah, I understand it.
Well, no.
That was a lot of money then.
5 gallons of
Earl
thinner,
Scheib would paint a car for
$29.95. And if somebody said I was too much, I sent them down to Earl Scheib.
Right.
But anyway, 5 gallons of lacquer thinner, a case of clear, 4 gallons, Nason's L100, pound of gold powder, 2 quarts of toner, the 1 gallon of clear with the powder for base, the 2 quarts with a gallon and a half of clear for the candy or pearl, and the last quart, the top coat. So I did 3 to 4 stages back in 58. That kit only cost $35.
Wow.
And I can't get the people now to believe me.
You couldn't buy a can of anything.
Huh?
You couldn't buy a quart of anything today.
Oh, no. A kit form in this, I call it communized urethane, which is the worst paint on the market. This was done in nitro lacquer. And today, Junior, from Junior's House of Color, we rave about how great our nitro lacquer was. Color sand it with 500 and rub it out by hand. You can't do that. You have to take 2,000, you have to have a buffer, the RPMs, to bring the gloss out of this urethane. And urethanes crack faster than nitro lacquer. Because all of the urethanes you see from Detroit now, the 2-stage, they're cracked out because they don't have a garage for it. They need that garage to keep the dew and sun together off the car. A lot of people didn't know that. I learned that in 59. I did a 57 Pontiac Candy Red, and I did a 59 Pontiac Candy Blue. And the customers come back and bullshit and go have lunch and stuff like that. Well, one of the cars in 9 months cracked out. So I'm saying the Candy Red cracked out in 9 months, the blue hasn't. I told the guy with the blue 59 Pontiac, "You keep this in the garage." He says, "Yeah." "You're outside." "Yeah." So you figure the dew freezes the paint on the top of the car. The sun comes along and melts it. So when you see the top, trunk, and hood cracked out, like today urethane, that's from freezing temperature and the sun. And I learned that. So ever since then, I asked my customer, "You got a garage for it? If not, we'll paint it enamel." Because synthetic enamel would never crack out without the clear. So that's...
I can't imagine not putting a car in a garage, you know, especially something special like that.
I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of guys wanted a candy color on their car or pearlized, you know, and they don't have a garage for it. So I tell them to get a work car. I'm sorry, we're going to go back on that again. The candies that I were doing, like the burgundy, the candy red, and purples, with a maroon toner would fade in sunlight, okay? Now they come in, they want a candy red or purple. I says it fades in the sunlight. If they, you know, they go to work, park it all day in the sunlight. Now this, so I didn't know that. In 6 months, this burgundy started to fade. Well, I just added 2 inches of tape here and took a candy grape and faded into silver. So I did another fadeaway panel job in it to cover my fading spots. But anyway, I conned a lot of my customers because they wanted a candy red, they wanted a candy purple. They bought a $50 clunker, kept their car in the garage, took their clunker to work. And it happened many a time. They had to have a candy red or a burgundy or a purple. That was the only colors that would fade in the sunlight. But
those reds did.
Yeah,
those early reds went fast.
Yeah. Well, it was in the maroon toner. I had no problems with my candy butterscotches or my root beers.
Even the British paint. I remember at an MG, you could just sit, you could wax it, and then you could come back in an hour, and it was already starting to go.
Yeah. A lot of your reds too, when they wouldn't fade, they would sort of crystallize. They would get that chalky effect. You see, remember? Yeah, oxidation. You get that chalky oxidation effect. Cameraman's having a good time.
Yeah.
It's good to listen to.
Where's our coffee? You know, is a coffee break? But anyway, I started flaming after I did my pinstriping because Dutch was flaming. And the Buick back there was my first radical
Oh, okay.
flame job. Because back in those days, we were doing the crab claws, we call them, the short flames. And this guy come in with that 57 Buick. He pulls in the driveway and he wants me to do a complete flame job on it, you know. First I was going to tell him we're going to go ahead and do what I've been doing. Hood, fenders, into the doors. $35 to flame, okay? Well, he comes in with that Buick. He says, and I'm going around like I'm telling him, I said, we're going to start on your hood and we're going to go wrap down your fenders and I'm going to go all the way down below the bottom of your chrome strip. He said, no, I want the top, I want everything flame. Top, trunk, quarter panels. I said, you're kidding. No. So, you know, $35 to do a front into the doors. Well, this guy charged $65 and people don't believe it. Because the paint, you got to remember, I did it in yellow, orange with red tips. So quart of yellow went around the car, pint of orange and a pint of red for the tips, and I striped it in white. Okay? And I was so proud of that flame job, I took it down to show Barris and his brother and Dean Jeffries and Junior, and they just couldn't believe it because it was the first real radical flame job. And this way, instead of the crab claws, I did the double licks, which later on I called the seaweed flame job.
So how long did that take to do that car?
Oh, man, you're not going to believe this. In the morning, I started on it, and what I did, I outlined one side with red grease pencil. And then I followed it, because back in 50, it was either later part of 56, it was a brand new Buick, or early part of 57. No quarter-inch masking tape. I did that with half-inch tape. And I had to cut it and make my own quarter-inch to do the narrow curves. Okay, I do the one side in red grease pencil, get the theme the way I want it. Then I'd follow it with the tape, and then I take tracing paper on the side that's already taped up, and I take a red grease pencil and follow inside the tape line, and I flop it over and press the grease on the other side. It cut the time in half, and I followed it, and my high school buddies and friends were there, and when I started tracing the other side, they were on the other side taping it up and sanding it. One day, I had to go, back in those days, I had to go down to rent a compressor and a spray gun for $5 for the day. And the paint was like maybe $7.
I love it.
The paint, for all the yellow, about $7. One day, I did that flame job. And the next day, went down to Pep Boys and got varsity chrome polish, and I rubbed it out with chrome polish, and I striped it in white. So that was a 2-day job.
I remember varsity in the purple can.
You betcha, yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that was our compound back in those days. That was our urethane with our polish. So,
chrome polish was really dynamite polish.
so after my, I think, 5th flame job, this guy comes in with a 54 Chevy. He had Branson's auto body in Artesia on Pioneer Boulevard do the body and paint. He had a nose deck, door handles. And what they did, they ran above the hood lip, and they ran behind it, underneath the trunk on the package tray. And his name was Bob Shrimp. He comes in, he says, you know, striping's not going to cover those runs, and flames aren't. What can you do to cover my runs? I says, you know, I'm thinking back in the race car days with the scallops and stuff like that. I said, well, scallop it. Well, he says, what are scallops? I said, you go back to work, you come back tonight. And that was the first scallop job. And that scallop job hit the bellflower clock that night. My driveway was full. Every time I got out of high school, there's 3 or 4 cars wanting to be striped and scalloped. Because I started the scalloping trend because it hit the bellflower clock. The bellflower clock, we'll go back to that in a minute. But anyway, that was like a selling point for my work. Because, see, I was in Bellflower, and that was like a circumference, all the Dutchmans. And the Dutchmans back in those days had the money. They milked cows for their uncles or relatives.
I remember.
They stack up the money, and they go buy a car and have it customized, and they bring it right in my driveway for striping, scalloping the flames. But the clock drive-in was my headquarters. Every time I did something on a car, they were in the clock drive-in. So I owe the clock drive-in quite a bit. But I did do a poster on it. But it started, well, Dutch actually started the flying eyeball, so I started my flying eyeball. Mine was a little different than Dutch's. So the flying eyeball was real big. I was doing them on the glove boxes, on the gas caps, you know, and airbrushing them on T-shirts. And then, let's see, flames, scallops. I'll remember this before I opened my North Long Beach shop in summer of '57. There was a car show at Hollywood Park parking lot in September of '57, the hottest day of the year, as I can remember. Everybody was there. Dutch, Barris, Ayala Brothers, George Cerny, Jeffries, Roth. We were all there. That was the biggest so far of a car show in '57 because it was hot and everybody had to go to that car show. This Jaguar pulls into the show, stopped us all in our tracks, and he parks, and it was like a magnet. We were all around this Jaguar. Dutch was on that side, Barris was here, Roth, Jeffries, everybody. It was painted candy apple red, the first candy red that was shown in Southern California. And here we're doing our candy colors and tips on flames and scallops. And here some guy pulls in with a complete candy apple paint job. Yeah, an old 52 Jag, I think it was. And we asked him, who painted it? Well, Joe Balon from up north. Well, Monday when I got back to my shop in North Long Beach, a buddy of mine had a 56 Bel Air, black on black. And I says, hey, I'm going to paint part of your car. He says, what do you mean? I says, you're going to be the first guy in Southern California with a candy red. Said, what are you talking about? I says, start prepping it, dude. You know. So on the 56, he did the top of the hood, above the door, and below. We left the top and the back black. Did the front half, candy, my first candy red over silver metallic. It come out good. I was really proud of it. Cruised Hollywood Boulevard, made a big hit. And then there's another guy from the Renegades come in, and candy apple red. Candy apple purple? I don't know, I'll try, you know. He had a little 52 MG Roadster. Sure enough, he blocked it. They had it stripped down the next day for me. I went down to Joe Shea Lyons paint store in Long Beach, went behind his paint bench, and I took a blue and a burgundy and made a beautiful candy grape, and I shot that Jaguar. And so there's the beginning of my painting career. And then Barris calls me and he says, look, George Barris, Dean Jeffries, I think it was Ed Roth, and Bill Carr with the Aztec. Remember the Aztec 55 Chevy?
Yeah.
They were going back east on tour for 2 months. George begged me, he says, you gotta take over the paint department. I said, George, you're lucky you called me because they just built a pizza parlor in front of me. So I went and rent his bill. I asked George, how much you want? 150. I said, George, I'm paying 65. I can't afford $150. Hey, George says, I'll guarantee you'll make your money here. And he did. He like triple the dollar what I was getting. And that's when I got to T-Bird, and this started my painting career because of the panel job and the unique candy burgundy. And the guy working for me, Jack Van Tassel, had a 57 Pontiac that it was like a dark blue metallic and a white top and white spear. Well, what I did silver scallops, tipped it in candy raspberry and striped it in gold. And it was a good piece of advertising for me because it was unique. I painted the top silver with the raspberry fadeaway and around is the chrome strip. Well, this is maybe 6 months later. I told Jack, I says, I want you to strip your car down and prep it. I want to do a new color on it. He says, what are you talking about? I says, I want to do a new color. I got him to do a candy blue. Well, he did. He was pretty excited about it. So I go down there and I get the Nation's L11 because they make 11 for the light transparency and 111 for the dark transparency, which I used to use in my pearls. So I got 2 quarts and, you know, $35 kit, and I painted it. It was the first candy blue on the road. And boy, I'm telling you, this guy shot me a lot of business because of that. And a friend of mine had a chopped 51 Carson top Merc that worked for me at my 57 shop, and he just traded that in for a brand new 58 Impala. He pulls into the shop next to Barris. He says, I want a new candy color. And I says, well, he had gold, bronze, and copper for his upholstery. So I'm thinking, what color is going to go with that, you know? So I go down to the paint store, and here's L23 candy root beer, first candy root beer. So I shot his Impala candy root beer and did the top in gold pearl. And he came back to my shop a week later, and he says, you know, everybody likes this better than candy red. And then the colors started after that, and a butterscotch, a candy green, and white pearl, and it just, I was just busy. I kept busy. So 1960, I got a little lazy in my old age at that time. I'm tired of striping, I'm tired of flaming, I'm tired of scalloping, I'm tired of paneling. Started a new paint trend. I started the first some metallic metal flake, they called it, you know. Before we were using glitter on our dashboards and behind our flippers, you know. Now they got a finer glitter, which is called metal flake. And Ron and Gary, you know who he is?
Not
He
really.
had the exotic Corvette, the bubble top Corvette with the fins.
Oh, I know the
Okay,
car,
Ron
yeah.
and Gary, yeah. Well, I painted it, first time I painted it was the first rainbow mother of pearl at my 59 shop. Right after I got my 59 Cadillac, he comes in with it, and he's the first guy with hydraulics, first guy with a bubble top, and first remote. So now I'm honored that this guy's going to let me paint his car. So I did a platinum pearl with candy turquoise, a blue-green fadeaways all the way through it. Went back east for a car show. These guys that were in the metal flake business, they wanted to sponsor him. He said, we'd like to see your car back next year, metal flake. So Ron and Gary pulls up when he got back from back east, carrying out 3 bags of metal flake, 2 pounds of silver, 2 pounds of gold, 2 pounds of copper. He says, you're going to be the first son of a bitch to metal flake a car. Really? So we did, and then he came back 6 months later, and we left the metal flake as a panel job, and I painted candy red over that existing metal flake and left the panels in the metal flake, the gold, copper, and silver. Prettiest candy red ever. Not because I did it, because you got your silver, your gold, and your copper coming through that beautiful transparent red.
Yeah.
And then I painted it 6 times after that in different colors. So he started sort of my first fadeaway paint job. You know, because I had an event in '95, my 40th anniversary. He came to it, and he asked me if I remember rainbow in his Corvette. I says, no. He says, yeah, you did. I says, I don't remember. He said, don't you remember? You had 7 quart cans of light pastel colors. You shot my Corvette white, and then you started with the yellow, and you did figure 8s and zigzag, and then you backed it up with the tangerine pastel, and then the maroons, the burgundy, and purple. You know, I think I do remember. Well, I did all these rainbow pastels, and then I shot the real mother of pearl, which was Merle made. That was the pearl that was the most transparency, and we called it the mother of pearl. Then they backed it up with daychromer synthetic pearly pigment. It was an imitation pearl, which was brighter, which I used for a lot of my base coats. So Ron helped me out with his car, first metal flake. Now, 1960, that's good, because I want to start a new trend. I was telling Gary on the way up here that I got lazy in my old age. I said, I'm going to start a new, I'm just going to paint cars. No more striping, no more scalloping, no more flaming, no nothing. So I started a trend in 1960. Candy blue, metal flake top. Candy blue, light metal flake top. Pearls. You with me? And that kept me going for 7 years. Very rarely did I picked up a striping brush or laid out scallops and flame. It's one of those things that took off real good in the early 60s, you know, because the time was needed for complete candies and soft color pearls to go with it. I had a guy that worked at the paint store. He was like a driver. And he knew where my head was at. And every time a new transparent toner would come in, call me up, Watson, get your ass down here. I got a new transparent toner. First candy orange. Now, Barris and the boys and other painters were using for a orange tangerine was 87H DuPont. It was like a tangerine, but it had a root beer cast to it. Well, Bobby called me up, and this was like 112 Sunset Orange. This was a true candy orange. The true candy orange. No red, no root beer. It was actually candy. I called my brother up. I said, "Prep your 58 Delray. I want to paint it candy orange." I shot a. I used like my golds, my tangerines and reds. I used. Venus had a powder. It was number 7, extra rich coarse gold powder. That was my favorite base for my reds, orange, and golds. Gorgeous, because you know, you paint a candy over white pearl, it's like painting it over white, you know. You really have to see that pearl come through. Now, like this here has got silver pearl. It looks like a stainless steel. It'll look good under the sunlight. Well, this orange looks so good under gold powder. And I got more business off my brother's Chevy. They said they couldn't believe candy orange. And then he called me up, got a new toner. It was L15 Fast Violet. I was getting ready to do this 60 T-Bird. I just did the top silver flake, and on the side I did every 1/4 inch chrome tape like a little stainless steel panel. And I was going to do his bottom. His favorite, off my light bulb chart, his favorite purple was Candy Grape, which I created in the 58. It was like mixing 3/4 of this burgundy toner, 1/4 candy blue, made the most prettiest candy grape ever, over platinum pearl. So I had this bird already platinum pearl ready to put this candy grape on. Bobby called me at that time. He said, "I got a new toner." So I went down there, and what I do, I take the toner and smear it on the lid in the sunlight, and all I said, "Candy ink." I mean, ink. And I went back there and I said, "Gary, I'm going to change the color." And Gary says, "No, you can't." I said, "That's my favorite color." I said, "Gary, get off the property, come back tomorrow." You know. And I shot at candy ink, and it was one of the most prettiest purples I've ever done in my life. And he was so happy. He said, "Man, I'm glad you threw me off the property, you know." But it just, this guy at the paint store, you know, calling me up, new toner. You know, he'd come up with fast, it was a fast yellow gold, 106. First candy butterscotch. This guy had a 56 Chevy. I did the whole thing banana pearl. And the front half and bottom, I did candy butterscotch. And of all the 56 Chevys I had on my wall, they went to the butterscotch banana pearl. And it was just nose and deck and stock. These others were candy purple and tangerines with tangerine pearls and stuff like that. But what really helped me out in the early 60s, I was getting my pearls from Sam Posner in Beverly Hills at his house. And he was getting them from the Bronx in New York. And he discovered my paint jobs in 58 at a car show. He comes to my 58 shop in Bellflower and he says, "What are you paying for pearls?" I'm saying, "I'm paying $65 a gallon." There's already pre-mixed that I had to pay for this. Now that was money back in 58.
Yeah.
It took 2 gallons to paint that. So you got $130 just for the pearl, not counting the base or the top coating. So I told him what I was paying. So he brought a box, had about 6 different brands of pearl. $1.75 for CNC, $3.50 for XHP, all the way to the high grade, ZHP, grade A and grade B, $11. And that's what I use for all my base coats, because this pearl was blinding when you put it on the car. It was blinding, and that's what made my candies look so good over a pearl base, because it was bright. And then in 59, he come down to my store and gave me 3 samples of Murano pearl. Post-a-cast red, post-a-cast blue, and a gold. You know, so now I'm starting to mix it. I'm painting a couple of bike tanks and a couple of. I don't want to do a complete car. I just want to see how it's going to react with my customers. You know, so I'm looking at the red. You know, and you're really studying. Is there red there or not? You're in the sunlight, you're on the curb, you know. And I called Sam Posner back, and I said, "Sam, my customer's not going for it. They're just going to stick to the pearl because they can see them across the street. This new Murano pearl, you have to study it before you see the red, blue, and gold come out." So you tell the people, the manufacturer, to make it 3 to 4 times stronger. 2 years later, I get a call. "Come on up and get the Murano pearls." My God, when I saw that gold, this and that, that's what helped me out in the business. because I was getting it from Sam Posner, where he's getting through the Bronx in New York, and I didn't want the name Murano. It wasn't going to the paint stores yet. I didn't want Murano to get out, so I called it Watson's Abalone Pearl. Man, I'm telling you, I did a competition orange base. We call it Molly Orange. I took my candy tangerine, the orange I was talking about, and I put a half a jar of gold Murano, and I shot over that. And I mean, the car show guys went nuts. They absolutely, how did you get those 4 changing colors? Well, I lied. I said, it's a formula out of Japan, you know. I want to put them out in left field. No, I did. But anyway, I was having fun. I mean, you just take the orchid, gold Murano. You got a beautiful orchid pearl. All the highlights was gold. I did, this guy come into my shop. Of course, those days they say, you want a good paint job from Watson? Lower your car before you bring it in. The guy's a low nut, you know. So this guy comes in. This is honest to God truth. He comes in with a black 59 Eldorado hardtop. Everything taken off of it. All in black primer. Black vinyl top. He pulls right up in front of me with the airbags. Airbags 59. You know, I had a Brougham, first airbags 57. Had it on the ground. He pulls up, he gets out, he says he wants one of my custom black lacquer paint jobs. So, oh yeah, long quarter panels. This son just probably got some ripples in it, you know. And he had already had it sanded down with 320. In other words, it had to be wrapped, de-waxed, and painted. He wanted one of my black lacquers, Nason's True Black, blackest on the market. We'll just hold back a little minute. R&M, nitro lacquer, a gray tinge. DuPont, nitro lacquer, brown tinge. Nason's, blue tinge, blackest on the market. Because he knew what my black paint jobs looked like at the car show. So he wanted his Eldorado, one of my black nitro paint jobs. I'm looking at the guy and I'm thinking, prep, you know. Wants a, you know, black paint job on a Ripley Bonley. I got my rag. I went around that damn Cadillac for 20 minutes. I couldn't even find a little whoopee poo in it. I'm on my knees. I'm trying to pick this block job out, and I can't find it. I get off my knees. I says, who in the hell prepped this car? And the guy, name was Gary, backed up. Well, what do you mean? I said, look, dude, I want to know who prepped this car. Well, my buddy Tom, he prepped it. Tom, you start to work tomorrow. He did. I got him in my office. I said, look, you got to help me out. I want to create you a new color. It's going to be black, but you're going to be the first black cherry pearl. Gary said, well, I don't know. I like your blacks. Tommy says, let him do what he wants. And I have a great photograph. Nice shot. Just a cherry black pearl along the highlights of that 59 Cadillac. First black cherry pearl, and he thanked me 100 times to change his mind. And then another guy come in with a Corvette. You're going to be the first midnight pearl. So I took the blue Murano and went over black. Just gorgeous. So my Muranos were really selling me in the car shows. So I'm thinking of the Muranos that came in stronger in '61 and helped me out in my business, that they were so transparent you can mix them in with a candy. And backyard painter says, how would that color look over a Murano gold? I says, you lose it. You want a Murano gold, you shoot a candy burgundy over silver pearl. You can put some gold Murano in the burgundy and you'll get the transparency and your gold highlight at the same time, and you will not get any clouds or blotches in it. So that was it. A lot of people were brainwashed. Murano base, I wouldn't do it. I just had to have my pearl base, or that was it. But I owe it all to my customers. They helped me out. What else can I think of that I created? Oh yeah. This guy had a '63 brand new Pontiac. He had nose and deck door handles. He had his extension all filled in. And I was going to do it orchid pearl, and I took candy grape and faded around on the top. Okay. I left the sides silver flake because I want to take from the, what I did orchid pearl, and where the seam on the Pontiacs are, it was grape faded in on the top. Okay? Now I was going to take candy ink, the next step on the color chart from grape, and go down into the silver flake. So what I did, now this is acrylic lacquer toner, because I'm doing my metal flakes now and pearls in acrylic because they don't yellow like nitro lacquer. So anyway, I got the this L15 candy ink toner I was telling you about, and I'm getting ready to do the fade over the silver flake. So I had my test paper up on the wall, and I thinned it out just like nitro lacquer. And I shot it, and it came out a little webby. I said, my God. So I didn't know acrylic lacquer need like a quarter or a third more thinning than nitro lacquer. So what I did, I cut my pressure down, and the webs came out a little bigger. I said, this is pretty neat. I took my gun off, I dropped the gun into the non-thin acrylic lacquer, and I sprayed it against the wall, and the webs come out about 6 inches. I said,
Wow.
son of a bitch, a new paint trend. So the guy's name was Carl. I says, Carl, I said, I'm going to change my mind. I had an hour to calm me down. I said, no, you're going to start a new painting trend. This is my guinea pig. We're going to cobweb it. What do you mean? That's going to ruin my car. I said, no, no. No, I want my candy ink fade away like you promised me. I said, no. Off the property, come back tomorrow. So I webbed it. I webbed the whole thing, and laid it with clear, 8 coats. Next day, color sanded it with 300, laid another 6 coats of clear. Color sanded, rubbed it, and he hit the LA Sports Arena the next month, took best paint. He come back to me, thank you for changing my mind. Yeah, no, it was. And the other thing I I was doing a lot of tops with the cobwebbing. I was just, I think I had a 62 Chevy. I just finished doing a sky blue metal flake, and I did the candy blue cobwebbing on it because I did the bottom candy blue. So I'm taking that candy blue into a cobweb over a lighter blue metal flake because I like to use the webbing over flake because it shrinks it. So this guy comes over. I just finished clearing it. This guy comes over my rope. Nobody does that in my shop. You got a rope, keep out. He says, I can get that in a circular motion. I says, you speak English? It says, keep out. Off the property, dude. No, no, this guy was stubborn. I can get that to go into circular motion. I said, what are you talking about? Oh, no, I can. This guy's, must be a wino off the road. I said, get off the property. No, 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 I can get that in a circular motion. I says, if you don't get off the property, I'm going to put you in a circular motion. So finally, he dragged his tail, took off. The next morning, he was in front of my shop with a veiling kit, veiling gun, veiling paint. He said, now I'm going to, so I was cool then. You know, I said, this guy's got something. I never seen a gun like that. So we got my wall all laid out with my masking paper, and he said, now I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, you know. So he did. Now the veiling, if you guys can remember, they did the pottery ashtray with the circular lines. They did the lampshades with the white lampshades with the black circular lines. That was a veiling. It was very popular. So we started veiling the paper, and then my next cobweb job on the top, I used a veiling, and it come out good. And Ed Roth gave it the name Spider Flake, because I put crushed glass into my metal flake that it sparkled all over, and then I would do the veiling. Well, Ed Roth saw that in one of my cars and just freaked out. He says, that's Spider Flake. Because Ed Roth and I, we used to do a lot of horse trading, you know. We met back in '57. And I painted 5 cars for Ed. 1960, the Rotar, if you can remember the Rotar.
I've never seen it.
61 or 2, I painted the Road Agent. And 63 or 4, I painted the Mysterian Candy, Lemon over Pearl. And 64 or 5, I did the Orbitron. Now I'm begging Ed, I want to paint these in Pearl, because he comes up with these weird reverse Easter egg type cars, you know, they're so hard to paint, especially candy over pearl is the hardest to paint. He's brainwashed. He has to have his candies over pearl, you know. And I said, Ed, let me do them in pearl. So then I did the Durad Princess. The guy from Binks was there, and the Durad Princess had these surfboard fenders, lavender metal flake that I just painted, you know. And I already did the cab of the Durad Princess in the gold Murano, white, you know, because when you shoot gold Murano out of the jar in the clear and over a white, you get gold highlights, And then the back cast is, I call it lilac, like a lavender. So we did the coach that way, and all that scroll work that really popped it out. Then I did lavender pearl veiling down the front of his motor, you know. And then I'm looking at them surfboard fenders. I says, Ed, sponsor me with a double-headed veiling gun. What are you talking about? I says, I want to do something different on your fenders. Well, John was there from Banks, and I said, John, you do make a double-headed gun? He says, yes. I want you to come back tomorrow with a double-headed veiling gun. He says, it can't be done. I said, John, off the property, if you make a double-headed gun, you can make a double-headed veiling gun. Well, he came back.
What does the veiling gun do that's different?
The veiling gun has the head is sort of like a diamond shape, round, and it's got the needle valve, and then in front of that it's got a bushing. It's cut in a 45 degree all the way around, little lines, okay? Now when that paint comes out and the air through the bushing circulates, so this veiling equipment is like rubberized, it won't break apart. You know, a lot of people tried using lacquer and it just busts apart, but this veiling is a certain formula, it's rubberized, so it won't break apart. So that air will circulate that. You know, you can make them big, small, or whatever, you know. So I told John to go back and build the gun, and he says, you know, I said, off the property. He did, maybe a couple of days it took him. But he had this double-headed veiling gun with a 2-quart pressure pot with the 2 gauges, everything. It looked like something from Space Patrol. It was great. So now I'm working the veiling, you know, so we're going like this. I says, John, take one of the bushings and reverse the 45 cut. Yeah, we want this. Can't be done. John, off the property. He came back the next day. So now I got this. Now, going down the Ed Ross surfboards, lavender flake. What makes lavender flake? Ink toner and pearl, okay? So I'm doing the double-headed. One side is candy ink, the other side is white mother of gold pearl.
Wow.
Just gorgeous. Well, see, that's why I was never bored and bitter. I get to play with my toys and colors.
Are you still painting cars now?
No, not with this urethane. I wouldn't be caught dead with it. It's the worst paint on the market. I tried it, you know, and it's no good. People come up to my booth and they says, how much to paint my car? And I said, where you been? Well, I sold out in '80 because I call it the government wants you to do this, wants you to do that, you know, to stay in business, you know. So it's a long story. I won't get into it. But I sold out in '80. I whipped the system, you know. And then it was acrylic enamels, which I didn't care for. And then, actually, the urethane today, we'll take a clear. We shot clear enamel over stuff back in those days. It could be color sanded with 2000 rubbed out, you know. But today, it's the same thing. It's synthetic enamel, what it is. All they do is put a hardener in it and call it urethane. And we had that back in the 50s. And they're making such a big deal out of it. A urethane kit, don't remember, $35. A urethane kit, which the government controls right now, $3,500 to do a paint job like that.
Come on.
The material, $35. Well, I hang out at paint shops all over the United States here, man, and they tell me what's happening. You know, you put 2 zeros behind that $35 and you got $3,500 to do I've seen it. I've seen the receipts. I've seen this new chameleon paint, $1,100 for a quart. It took 4 quarts to do this Mercedes. My buddy Pete Santini out in Westminster, I wanted to see the new, because when the chameleon paint was at the SEMA show the first time, I got my phone rang off the hook, watching, you got to see this new chameleon paint, this and that, you know. So finally I heard Pete Santini was going to paint one, and he showed me his invoice. 4 quarts of chameleon pearl, $4,400. Can you believe that? That's just the pearl. What about the base? I can get into that. You get sick. What else did I create? Oh yeah, 1959, I come out with the first glow paint. Guy had a 37 Chevy. It was like a dark blue metallic. And I told him I'm going to do a guinea pig on it. He said, well, I don't care what you do. I want flames on it. I says, okay, you're going to get flames on it. So what I did, I shot a powder blue pearl and tipped it in dark blue against his royal blue metallic. And then I got the pearl, and I put this glow paint into the pearl and cleared it. Well, I got my pearl flames. What's different about it? I says, tonight you'll see. Well, what he did, you go into the service station and you're energizing the glow paint with the lights. He'd go down a dark street without the headlights, and he'd get out of his car, and there's all the flames glowing. I swear to God, it's glow. Then I started split dimension. Remember the crackle paint?
Oh, yeah.
I did a tank white pearl, and I put the crackle paint into my candy red and shot it candy red, and it split crackle. I mean, big splits. I call it Watson's latest, this is in '67, Watson's latest paint job on this, on my brochure, the split dimension. It was great. It just split, and there's that white pearl. What else? I've done so many things, you got to have a script in front of you. What did you do in '62? What did you do in '67? But I enjoyed my painting career. As like I say, I didn't get tired of it because I get to experiment using the customer cars as a guinea pig. I couldn't paint a regular red, a blue, If they want a red, it's got to be my red. It's got to be in a candy or pearl form. Blue's the same way as the yellows, You want me to paint a stock competition yellow? Go down to Earl Scheib. Does a good yellow job. You do a yellow on this property, it's going to be in a pearlized or a candy form. I just wish I should have brought my photo gallery here, and then I can really open the book and say, well, I did this and that, What else did you need to know?
Well, boy, I'm absolutely blown away. I just never, I don't think, I realized, I don't know about you, Steve, the intricacies of what was going on back in the 50s in terms of the styling and the coloring and
I was just staying ahead of the game.
Mixing and the creativity of it.
Well, I had to stay ahead of the game, and I had to lie to stay there, And this Murano Pearl took 2 years before it hit the paint stores. That's why it was Watson's Abalone Pearl. If you wanted that paint job in the LA Sports Arena, orange with the gold highlights, you have to go to Watson to get it, That was it. Nobody knew how to get Murano. I was taking my weekend date up to Beverly Hills to this guy's home and buying about a dozen jars of pearl every weekend, And he's getting them from the Bronx, not even hitting the paint stores yet. The paint stores are still selling pre-mixed pearl. How about
you were buying the raw material, the flake itself, the pearl?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Still, it wasn't
ground up fish scales.
Okay, so then you wouldn't then mix.
Oh
that.
yeah, I made my own pearls.
Okay.
I started a lot of pearl colors back in those days. It's just what actually the customer, what he wanted, what color was his interior, what color does he sleep at night, knowing his car is going to be a certain color, or what's he want? I mean, I did a Jaguar in 2 shades of blue, the old 52, like the Rolls-Royce shape type, I did a royal blue pearl, and then the inset, that oval, I did a powder blue pearl. The guy had red interior. He promised he was going to change it. A year later, he comes back. It's still red, Now, to each his own. A two-tone blue Jaguar with red interior. Come on. He could at least dyed it black.
I have a candy apple bicycle that Von Dutch did for me.
Oh, no kidding.
Back in about 52 or 3. And then he striped it, and I got it for my wife, and she didn't like the striping.
Oh, God, I don't believe that.
I don't either.
Did you punish your wife?
Huh?
Did you punish your wife after that?
I told her this the other day. I showed her an article on Von Dutch, and I said, if we left the striping on the bike the way Von Dutch did it, originally that bike would be worth $100 grand today. Now it's worth $50.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to think what I can relay to you that I created. There's another.
But you've given us a pretty good feeling of, that there were like maybe half a dozen people like yourself that were in that industry or in that business, and of course, Southern California was the.
Yeah.
This is where it was happening.
Yeah. Junior is a damn
Some up
good
north,
thing.
a little bit up north.
Yeah. Rod Powell up north.
And back east,
We
it was
all-
like Me Too. That they copied, but I don't think they were I don't think there were too many originators back there.
No. I have to agree with you. Junior and I, in '59, he picked me up in his '54 Cadillac, and we went up to the Oakland Roadster Show in 1959 for the first time, you know, and we knew like Balon and Winfield and Cushenberry and Joe
Sure.
Wilhelm, the big names up there, you know. Great body work, we know that. But Junior and I were curious about how good the painters were. Well, this is in '59. No offense against the guys there, but we walked out of there. You know what I mean? We went up there to see how good those painters were, but now they are the greatest. I mean, Winfield can carry a great fadeaway. Bill Hines. The painters today, well, I always put Junior on top because he was been my #1 man. You know, so we grew up together, we're competing each other with his shoebox and my Chevy in the shows. Hung out together at car shows. Southern California, Pete Santini. He's keeping my colors and Muranos and stuff going. Art Hempsel up north, good man. New guy, Daryl Hollenbeck, I gave my best paint award at Paso Robles. He did a candy raspberry over John DiAgostino's Cadillac that I couldn't believe it. You know, here's the painters today are buying this house of colors with the base coat. The base coat is the cheating coat as far as I'm concerned. In other words, the base coats they go for candies now are like 4 shades of candies already. So they only put a couple, 3 coats of candy red, but they're still getting blotches. So I beat the system on blotching in '58. I walked the full length of the car. It's not only that, it's how you dilute and thin out your paint and how you adjust your gun spray. That was the key in '58. I had to learn the hard way. I had to teach myself. And I walked the full length of a car. You can take, you know, a lot of people wouldn't paint candy reds back in there because they automatically blotch over pearl. Pearl bases were the hardest for candies because they were so bright, so light. It shows your gun strokes, it shows your stop and go, clouds, everything like that.
Yeah.
I think you're aware of what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
But I didn't, white pearl, great. A lot of people were bringing, like Ed Roth, you know, I begged him to let me paint his car in pearls because it's easier. You can put 6 coats of pearl on this and 10 coats the same color. But when you do a candy over pearl, you really got to mic your way around everything and you got to trigger your gun just right. Otherwise, 10 coats is going to look different than 6 coats, you know. But anyway, there's about 10 good painters out there. I just gave Best Award 2 years ago at Paso to...
You say you give a Larry Watson award to...
Yeah, in Paso Robles. See, Paso Robles, to me, I've seen videos on car shows back east, Midwest. They don't compare to Paso. Paso is the key. Why I like Paso better and everybody, because these guys from up north, Richard Zoki, DiAgostino, Rick Dorr from Arizona, Squeege from Arizona, like Gary Nemi with the T-Bird from Southern California, they cater to the golden age, the period. When I go in to judge a car, it's got to be 59 or older. And there's so many beautiful customs out there that fits the 50s, but they put those gay-looking wheels on it and just off the property, you know. I don't understand it. I think if a guy's going to build a golden age custom, he should keep it golden age instead of put this high tech. You know, it's just getting ridiculous. But anyway, I give my, it's called the Watson Nostalgia Award. It's got to be golden age, 59 or older, and the work well done, paint job, got to be flawless. They get my award. And I'm honored going and giving my award at Paso Robles because that's the number. I started there. Rich and Penny were trying to get me there with their first year in '81. Where do we go? We running out of time?
We're getting pretty close, yeah, Larry.
One more thing before we leave. This guy, Jim Dunn, came in with his full-body dragster. He wanted something different. He wanted to look like a lollipop, a popsicle. I said, what are you talking about? So I did the whole thing white pearl, and we fastened it together.
I think we're running out of tape over there.
Well, where's our copy?
Car?
Yeah, I found it for him in Huntington Beach.
Oh.
Are we back on, boss?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay, we're going to get, anyway, we'll go back to Jim Dunn with his dragster full body. Like I said, he wanted to paint it like a lollipop. So what I did the whole thing white pearl. I'm going to go back to what I said, the white brightest pearl, ZHP grade A for amber. Well, I got 7 quart cans, candy yellow, candy orange, candy red, candy burgundy, candy grape, candy ink, candy blue, candy turquoise, candy green, candy lime. Okay? So I went ahead and it's got that long dragster, so I'm going around this way, going around. So I started in the center. Yeah, so I started, what you do on a candy rainbow, you start with the light color yellow. And we start that in the middle, and then I come in with the tangerine. When you overlap the yellow, you got like an apricot. And then you go with the candy red, then you got an orange red, then you go to candy burgundy, you got a cherry red, you know. So you go do the whole thing with the 7 overlapping colors to give you 14 color fadeaways. And well, it happened to be sitting outside drying in the sun. This guy drove in from Washington with his Porsche. He saw that rainbow and just went nuts. He wanted his Porsche painted rainbow.
Come on.
Yeah, yeah. I do have good photographs of it. So I did his Porsche and did the same thing, the white bright pearl base. Started with the yellow, orange, went up to the purples, and then from the purples went into the center of the hood with a line. He went to Washington and wrote me a letter that he took it back to the place that he bought it from, and they paid him weekly to keep it in the showroom because it was such an attraction. And then this guy, Ricky, a semi-retired English actor, lived up in Mulholland, had a Mercedes 280 SL. He wanted a rainbow. I did that. Then he bought a 914 and wanted me to rainbow that. Well, on the Mercedes, I went from the purples and reds on the sides into the blue in the center, okay, into the lime. And then on the Porsche, I did it opposite, you know. And then he sells a Porsche and he buys a brand new Jag XKE and has me rainbow it. He had a place up north called the Rainbow Ranch, so he had 3 cars that I rainbowed. And then this sheik from Saudi Arabia come in and said he's going to buy a new limousine, Cadillac limousine. Went down to Dixon Cadillac, he said, what color shall I drive? Because I already had photographs of my rainbow paint jobs up there, and he came into my shop and just went nuts. He said, I want you to rainbow a Cadillac. What color, what I like about it, what color should I buy it? I says, silver. So he bought a silver one with a black vinyl top. So I had him take it down the street to Rudy's Top Shop on the corner of Vine and Melrose, and he did a silver vinyl top. And I told him, I said, I'm going to give you a good price. I don't have to go into your door jams. I'm going to leave your door, because he got the silver gray interior. And I said, I'm going to do the outside in candy rainbow over silver metallic, you know. And I did. I got a photograph of that. He bought that Cadillac and had me rainbow it and sent it back to Saudi Arabia to give it to his sister for a birthday present. You imagine one of my rainbows went overseas? Yeah. And this guy, and then this company, you remember the Lancia car?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there's a showroom down here from you. This is back in 72 or 3. They saw one of my rainbows, one of the Ricky Coopers, either saw his Mercedes, this and that, and they told him who painted it, so he went down, and they got a brand new Lancia sports car that they want to put in their showroom. So I rainbowed it, put it in the showroom. It was a great attraction, and this guy come in and wanted to buy it. They wouldn't sell it. It's getting so much attention. They were going to leave it alone, you know. So he said, well, you buy one and we'll have it painted for you. So finally the guy conned him into who painted it, you know. So he comes to my shop and he said, those guys wouldn't sell that rainbow paint job of yours, you know. So I'm thinking about buying one, and how much would you charge me to rainbow it, you know. Back in those days, in the 70s, it was like about $2,500 to do a rainbow, and that was cheap. And he comes back again. He says, the guys are giving me a hard time. They want too much money, you know. He says, how about a 924? Okay. They just come out, 924. So I'm going down the beach to pick one up. What color? I said, black. That's it. And I did it in a silver pearl base. And let's see, one other rainbow I'm trying to think. Yeah. Okay. Now, people ask me what was my favorite paint job. They think it's like my T-Bird or my Brome with the candy raspberry and this and that, you know. I said, my favorite paint job is on my ex-secretary, Linda Planet's Corvette. Now, I painted her Corvette in the beginning in a pink pearl, gold Murano, Watson's Abalone pink gold pearl. Well, she got a couple of scrape marks, this and that, some body work done to it. A friend of mine, Jack Chafin, did the body work. In 1970, I opened up another shop. I had several shops in Hollywood. I'd be getting thrown out by the same fire department trying to paint cars without a spray booth. He just wouldn't leave me alone. But anyway, she wanted something different, you know. She says, do something different on my Corvette. So I'm thinking, okay, I should come back next week. I painted the car black pearl, a gorgeous black pearl with the ZHP B. And guess what I did over that black pearl? 7-color rainbow. It was my most gorgeous paint job because it was so subdued. And those candy colors over black pearl. And you go look at a bright rainbow over pearl. This is, and I got some good pictures of it. That was my favorite paint job. Candy rainbow over black pearl.
Wow.
Gorgeous. I mean, I can't describe it to you. It just come out. You just seeing those candy colors over black pearl. In my studio days, I started my acting career in 1966, had 15 years, did 141 shows, TV, met a lot of great people in the studios. We become good friends. Al Ruddy with The Godfather, I did several cars for him. I got on Mike Connor's team. I did his 37 Bentley Roadster, you know. Before that, I did I got my first Mannix through a director. And we went on a location to Silver Lake where we were shooting. And I went to the coffee hut, you know, and get a cup of coffee. And the lady star of the show, Kate Woodville, says, "Watson, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I'm playing the part of Gerber." "No shit," she got so excited. "Have you met Mike?" I says, "No, come with me," you know. So Mike's out studying with his script on his director's chair, you know. So Kate brings me over there. "Mike, I want you to meet a good friend of mine, you know. It's Larry Watson. If you need any paint or body work on your car, this is the man," you know. So Mike sort of woke up. Well, we got real close, and he gave me his 37 Bentley. I took it down to build a car, my body man in Bellflower that does the greatest aluminum work on this planet. They did some patchwork on the Bentley, and I did it in a maroon like he wanted, and I did a Riviera charcoal metallic instead of the beige on the side, and I was his hero. And then he buys well, Paramount had a series with Lee J. Cobb. They gave him a Mexico Maserati, a 67 or 68, and Mike wanted me to come over with Greg Morris on the lot to see the new Jensen Interceptor. And I said, forget it. The guy was trying to sell them. They were so ugly. You know, the convertibles are all right with the top down, you know. But Mike pulls me aside and he says, "You know, they're going to give me Lee J. Cobb's old Mexico Maserati, 68. He said, "I don't like the red on it." I said, "No problem." So I do a Riviera charcoal metallic with the Cadillac fire mist. He wanted a little more coarse and metallic on it. And then when I had a color sand and rub, brought it on a lot, I went over there and striped it in maroon. I see it, because Mike, they don't let an actor work more than one season. He had me working 2 seasons on the show. So I did about 9 or 10 Mannix. Mike and I become real close friends. And Gary Morton, I did his roles. He loved what I did to it, so he wanted to paint Lucy's Rolls Royce for her birthday, you know. So it was a dark blue, the midnight blue that Rolls Royce come out with, you know. So Gary brings it over to my shop. I was across the street from Paramount, and he says, "I want a two-tone Lucy's car. So can we put a metallic above? You know, we'll do the bottom in the same blue. Well, let's cut the belt line and do a beautiful, nice metallic blue." I said, "Gary, I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to do a pearl blue, a powder blue pearl." He got so excited, you know. So anyway, after 2 weeks, Lucy was driving the Rolls, you know. She tells Gary, he said, well, you know, no offense on the paint job, tell Watson I want the whole thing solid. Every time she left her pad from Beverly Hills, going down to her studio, she got pulled over wanting to know who painted that blue pearl. And then they see her in the rollers, and they stop her to get her autograph. This happened practically every day. She says, I got to get that blue pearl off my Rolls Royce, you know. That's honest to God truth, you know. She didn't want to hurt my feelings, you know. She just told Gary to tell what's happening, you know. I just can't get to the studios unless I'm pulled over and asking who painted my Rolls Royce and autographing. But another good story, this is my Hollywood days. You guys don't mind?
No.
Okay. Purnell Roberts brought his Porsche in for me to paint. Drops it off that day and calls his agent, and I got my boys to start stripping it down. And I told him it'd take me a week to do it. It was silver metallic, faded, oxidized. You know, he wants it back to silver metallic. So the next morning, I get a call to do a Barnaby Jones. And so I hit the Golden Studios, and I get out, and the AD puts me in a limousine, and we're going to go out and shoot on location. And who I sit next to in a limousine is Purnell Roberts. You know? I says, Purnell, I just left you yesterday. And I said, well, you had to be playing my boss. He says, yeah. You know, so that was it. But now, I think 10 days later, I had it done. He come to pick it up. We had it all detailed, clean, sparkling, gorgeous, sit right there in my shop. Wouldn't let nobody get around it. And Purnell was going nuts. He couldn't believe how beautiful it came out. He was going hee-haw. Oh, you mind if I call my agent? So he goes into my office. While he's in my office, talking to his agent, I open my striping kit up, get out some purple paint, get that damn thing going, and I get on the front fender. I do the whole side in purple flames and striping. Stripe the whole side. The purple flames, all the whole side of the car, you know. So he comes out, you know, and I said, Purnell, I did you a favor. You're such a great boss on Barnaby Jones. I'm going to present this to you. The poor guy, he didn't know what to do. He dropped. Everything dropped. He didn't want to insult me because he thought what I put on there is not going to be able to come off. And he can't picture himself driving a flame Porsche. He didn't know what to say to me. He says, Watson, it looks good, but do you see me driving a flame Porsche, you know? I says, well, Purnell, don't you like that? Well, yeah, but you know, he was worried, you know? He didn't want to insult me, you know? I go over there with some turpentine. Well, ain't no hard feeling, Purnell. Boy, you saw his whole face drop back to relief. I'll never forget that. Yeah, we had some fun times in the studios. But I had to bring up the rainbows. Like I said, today I haven't seen anybody do a candy rainbow yet. You know, I'm still looking at a car show. Who's going to come up with a rainbow, you know? I did a video on my 40th anniversary with Ed Roth. I had all the big names, Barris, Winfield, Hines, Dick Dean, three of the number one stripers from back east flew in, Rod Powell, Jimmy Vaughn. I had everybody there, you know. So I'm putting the video together, and I have a little flaw in my generator special effects machine. And this Cadillac was lavender primer, and all of a sudden it turned into rainbow, just the car itself. So I left it in my video. And I'm narrating this video, and I says, now this is it rainbow, the whole Cadillac, the front quarter panel, beautiful rainbow, just a Cadillac. And I'm narrating, I says, what about you painters out there? How come I haven't seen a rainbow primer paint job? It's so damn easy to do, you know? And most of the cars are primer nowadays, you know. Let's see, what else?
Great.
What else can you think of?
Well, I can't think of anything. I'm just sitting here thinking what a exciting time. You know, this is a major artistic endeavor that you went through that I'm not sure a lot of people outside of the automobile industry realize, you know, that you're an artist, that this is a whole culture that it needs to be expanded and exposed more. You know, just
Well, this sort of gave me my highlight, my big boost, because of Candy Apple Burgundy and the panel Platinum Pearl. And Jeffrey saw this Platinum Pearl, loved it, and he painted his Porsche Platinum Pearl, which he did a good job. But yeah, this, I had more fun in this. You know, people ask me, of the 4 cars, my Chevy, my T-Bird, my 59, or my Brougham, which one did I have more fun in? It was this one. This stopped more traffic because it was so unique back in 58.
Yeah.
You know, for a year they were asking me what kind of car it was, you know.
Sure.
A whole year. But, you know, I'm thinking the new T-Birds coming out, 58, 4-passenger, But when I saw all this sculpturing, there we go.
Well,
You
Larry,
can probably pick that up later on video, huh? We got, we're over 24 books with this, and I've just framed another one from last month in a magazine. They won't let this die. And I got to tell you one thing, Gary Nemi, that restored this bird, there'll never be anybody on this planet that can do it as good as he did. He was there at the time. He cruised with me in this bird. He was one of my first customers. I pinstriped his Buick in 55 in red, had a white Buick, and he did my plastic knobs on my Chevy. And in 57 at my North Long Beach shop, he got a 55 Buick first, then a 56, and then I did the scallop job on his 56. And it came out good, which is...
Gary, come over here and let's get a shot of, come over here, walk around over this way. Yeah. This is the, Gary, come around over here. This is the gentleman that owned the car originally, right? That bought it from you? He was one of your...
No, the guy that wound up with the T-Bird was in Huntington Beach. He had a body collision.
Okay.
And he's been on it 13 years.
But Gary restored...
Gary found out through me that the guy needed some money, and he wanted to...
You found the car?
Larry found the car, and then
and Gary sort of talked about restoring it, and that was honors to me, because when he restores something, it's done right. And I was proud working with Gary. I'd come in with my photographs to lay out the panels, so I didn't know how wide they were until we had to get the 8x10 photograph and measure from there. And I knew what size tape I did use, and we did it from there. And we contracted out to Danny Hall, who did a good job of painting it. You know, because see, I can't paint urethane; that's against the law.
I got 1,500 hours in this car.
Really?
Yeah, restoring it. All the stuff was still, Bill Hines put the electric solenoids in the doors and stuff, and starter solenoids on the firewall. That's how they used to make them work. And there's still all the original stuff on it.
Yeah, those are those big solenoids, you know, not these little dinky gay solenoids. Can I use word gay or?
Use anything you want.
Okay, thank you.
Also, Bill Hines, this is how you open the door. You press these buttons. They take the batteries out of here, but
Yeah.
Bill Hines put these in here, and then I had to reduplicate them. And these come in a solid piece where you got to take a die grinder and gently cut them all out, and then get the button behind them again to make them work to pop the doors open.
Right.
But there's all kinds of little stuff that you don't know about the car. It's hard to see, like these little caps. They had to have those made special because they didn't have them now. These were back in the 50s, just to get the lines like this that protrude out.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, he's the only one that conned me into doing my last, capital L-A-S-T, pinstripe. That's it. That's his color. Oh, yeah. I was at a Harvey's reunion, Gary, remember? And some guy come up and told me about when I finished the T-Bird, I pinstriped it in gold. I come back the next day, I didn't like the gold, and I went over with a lavender line. I forgot about that, but he was there behind the alley at Barris's shop on his bicycle watching me put a gold line on it. And then the next day I come back and I went over the gold line as a base for my lavender. Yeah, this was out of my...
This is probably a good time to wrap it up.
Okay.
I think we got a pretty
You're
good...
going to go take a nap on me, are you?
Yeah. Way past my nap time.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I'm sorry I don't have any more info for you. I just, like I say, I need a script, or I need, like right there, I can give you another story, but that's all right. We'll wrap it up. I want to go have lunch.
Well, we'll take you to lunch.
Okay, that sounds good.
Hey,
Thank
thanks
you.
for coming down, Larry.
Well, I'm very honored.
It's been a lesson. It's been a real pleasure to be here.
Well, I appreciate
Yeah,
that. I
very
figured you'd
much.
get a kick out of some of the old custom creations
Really.
and stuff that I did by accident and started a new trend by accidents.
It happens more often than not, I suspect.